right, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. So we just wrapped up the prejudging for the Puerto Rico Pro, and we also just wrapped up the finals for the Monster Gym Pro in Korea. Now, the unfortunate part about both these shows was it was like a little bit anticlimactic going into them because there wasn't a stream for either one of these shows. So we kind of had all this build up, and then I'm guessing not a lot of you guys went to Puerto Rico and not a lot of you guys went to Korea. So you guys haven't seen the shows, at least much video of it, or you haven't seen it live. But the prejudging for Puerto Rico just wrapped up, so we're going to start with that. So again, there wasn't a stream, not a ton of footage, but the main impression that I got from prejudging, the first thing that really jumped out to me here was the young French guy, Theo Laguerrier. I think he looked incredible to me, from what I could see, from some of the live streams that people had on Instagram. When Theo came out, he looked to me to be the most conditioned guy on the show. I think this is probably one of the better packages, if not the best package that we've seen from Theo. And in fact, he looks so good that he was in a top 2 comparison of just him and Hassan. So this was just moments ago, this comparison with Hassan. And Hassan has been the main topic of conversation. He's been like the bigger name going into the show that everybody's been talking about. If he improves, if he fixes his midsection, etc., etc. So number one, did he do that? Did he improve? I think at the end of the day, you can say that he did. I think his conditioning looked better here than it usually looked. That being said, the other issue, the midsection. So with his lower midsection was the main thing that stood out to me. We saw a lot of training videos going into the show the week of, when he was already in Puerto Rico, which was peak week. And when he was training, I think it was like a pec fly video or something. You can see that like his top 2 abs are still visible, but the bottom portion was like distended. And that I think was something from overfeeding, maybe trying to fill out too much. But the other thing was his structure overall. There might be something that he just can't fix with the structure of his midsection itself, as it is proportionally to the rest of his physique. He looks a little bit blocky in some of the front poses, and I think that has a lot to do with his midsection. But that being said, this is a close call here. I think Theo was definitely more conditioned than Hassan. I think Hassan did improve. And I think it's also noteworthy here that Hassan has a mountain more muscle than Theo has, and a lot more muscle maturity too. I mean, keep in mind, if I'm not mistaken, Theo is 24 or 25. I think they said 24 at that last show. So if Theo is able to pull out a win here over Hassan, who probably has, I mean, Theo's no small guy, but Hassan has a pretty significant amount of muscle over him, I think that would be pretty impressive. But I feel like they're probably going to give it to Hassan. I don't know if Theo did enough here. His conditioning was phenomenal. He really looked great. But Hassan just got so much muscle, it's difficult to overcome a guy like that. Like I said, you talk about guys like Hadi Chupin and Big Ramy. You can even talk about William Bonac. These just densely, heavily muscled guys. They might not have the prettiest structure, but if they come in condition with that much size, it's very overwhelming on a stage like the Puerto Rico Pro. Now, I should also mention here that the first call-out was 3 guys and not 2. So they had Theo, Hassan, and Andrea Muzi. I think they ended up taking Andrea out of that top 2 because of his conditioning. I think overall, I mean, it wasn't the strongest lineup. And actually, you also had that Fabian Larabia guy that switched over from Classic Physique. I thought he actually looked better than I thought he would relative to the other guys from a size standpoint, because he was coming over from Classic Physique. We know he's a taller guy, and because of that, he's a heavier guy. He weighed like 245 pounds. But I think he didn't really look that small compared to the guys here. But again, this is no Mr. Olympia. I mean, this wasn't like the biggest of the big. So I just don't think he looked bad. I think there was a chance of that he could have cracked into that top 3 call. I don't know why they didn't do more guys. Actually, no, I'm wrong. They did have a 4th guy in there. CJ Giatras, that's the bald guy in the lineup. So there were 4 guys in that top, that first call out. But I think at the end of the day, it was conditioning. That's why they took out the other 2 guys. Theo looked phenomenal. I was very impressed. At the end of the day, I think Hassan is still going to pull this out, but I don't think it was as drastic of an improvement as a lot of us thought it was going to be. That being said, I still think he looked great, and I still think if he wins, it's not going to be a bad thing. But again, Theo looked great, and I don't think I would have a problem with him winning the show either on the merit of his conditioning. So also, we have the results from the Korean show, the Monster Gym Pro. So that schedule was a little bit weird. There was more than 24 hours in between the prejudging for Monster Gym and then the finals for the Monster Gym show. So that was a little bit weird for the international people waiting for the results. No one was really sure when it was going to happen, but we did get the results for men's open bodybuilding at the Monster Gym Pro show in Korea. So we wound up seeing exactly what I thought was going to happen after prejudging. So Muhammad Ensauer, who was the guy in the red trunks in the middle, he ended up winning the show. That's what we thought was going to happen. Sung Cho Lee, he ended up taking second. That's pretty much what we thought was going to happen. And in third place, you had Sibasisu Katello. So essentially, I didn't really think a whole lot changed, to be completely honest, from the pictures that I saw from finals. I think most of these guys, I mean, they looked about the same to me. There was no noticeable improvement. There wasn't that much noticeable fading either. No one really looked worse. No one really looked a whole lot better, from what I could see at least. And the placings were probably the exact same as they were at prejudging, or the physiques were. So, unfortunately, not a whole lot of improvement, or not a whole lot of redemption, I guess you could say, for Sibasisu, which is unfortunate to see. I mean, I think he would have done really well at that Arnold Classic South America. And I think, honestly, you know, even the guest posing, or whatever you would call it, from South America, I think he looked way better there than he looked here. And again, you know, this is Korea. I mean, it's a big ask for these guys to travel that far and be able to maintain and hold their conditioning on the flight, on the jet lag, you know, finding their hotel, all this stuff. I mean, traveling that far for a show can throw a physique way off. And I do think that Sibasisu looked a lot better from what we saw from him in South America. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Who do you guys think is going to win the Puerto Rico Pro? Do you think it's going to be Hassan? Do you think it's going to be Theo Laguerre, the young French sensation? And then what do you guys think about the results of the Monster Zim Pro? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you have not subscribed yet already. As always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out.